Just like everyone else, I'm sure you too were told that a mass-produced steel watch was better than gold. You were told it was an investment asset that would only go up forever. You were told that scarcity was real and that you were lucky just to be allowed to spend $10,000. Well, the party is over. The hangover is starting. And 2026 is going to be the year the lights turn on and reveal just how messy the room really is. We are looking at a perfect storm of economic, geopolitical, and industrial disasters converging on the world's most famous watch brand. If you thought the price drops we have seen so far were bad, you haven't seen anything yet. 2026 will not just be a bad year, it is shaping up to be the worst year in modern Rolex history. Before we watch the crash, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the truth about the luxury market. To understand why 2026 is the year of the reckoning, you have to understand the arrogance of the last 5 years. Rolex built a house of cards on the idea of managed scarcity. They made you believe demand would always outstrip supply, but right now they are walking into a trap of their own making. Here is why the crown is about to slip. The industrial paradox. For a long time we assumed Rolex made about 1.2 million watches a year, but the brand got greedy. They saw the hype during the pandemic and decided to expand. But building factories takes time. There is a capacity lag between deciding to build more watches and those watches actually hitting the shelf. That lag is ending right now. While everyone is talking about the billion-franc mega factory opening in 2029, they are ignoring the immediate threat. In early 2025, Rolex fired up temporary production sites in Fribourg. These aren't small workshops. These are facilities employing hundreds of skilled workers, designed to pump out watches as fast as possible. By 2026, these factories will have been running for over a year. They are clearing the backlog. The supply floodgates are opening exactly at the moment the global economy is cooling down. You can already see it happening at the retail level. Remember the exhibition-only signs? That was a velvet rope designed to make you want what you couldn't have. It masked the fact that dealers were selling everything out the back door. That era is dead. Reports from late 2025 show that wait times for core models like the Submariner have plummeted from over 100 days to 60 days or less. For entry-level models like the Air King, the wait is effectively zero. These are becoming walk-in purchases again. Once you realize you can walk in and buy a Submariner or a Datejust whenever you want, the fear of missing out evaporates. And when the FOMO dies, the premium collapses. The value destruction. This leads us to the financial bloodbath. And let's be clear, this is for informational purposes, not financial advice. But the numbers don't lie. The most damaging thing happening in 2026 is the death of the Rolex as an investment narrative. From 2018 to 2022, people who didn't even like watches were buying them because they thought they beat the stock market. That delusion is over. Data shows that since the peak in March 2022, models like the Daytona have shed nearly 50% of their value. They crashed from highs of over $50,000 to the high 20,000s, and it is going to get worse. The forecast for 2026 predicts that the Tiffany Blue Oyster Perpetual, a watch driven purely by internet hype, will crash by up to 71% from its peak. Even the Pepsi GMT Master 2 is looking at a total decline of up to 50%. If you bought during the peak, 2026 is the year you realize that money is gone forever. We are approaching a retail price trap. Rolex keeps raising their retail prices, hiking them by 3 to 7% in early 2025. Meanwhile, the secondary market value is falling. In 2026, these two lines will cross for many steel sports models. We are already seeing precious metal models and yachtmasters trading below retail. Once a steel Submariner trades on the secondary market for the same price as a new one at the store, the game is over. Why would anyone play the dealer's games, buy jewelry they don't want, and wait for a call just to pay more than the market rate? The financial incentive to buy at retail is vanishing. The grey market crisis. The fallout is going to destroy the middlemen. The grey market, those dealers who flip watches for profit, is facing an existential crisis. During the boom, these dealers lived on high turnover. Now they are drowning in inventory they bought at high prices. As values drop, they get margin calls. We are already hearing rumors that many dealers are refusing trade-ins or offering insultingly low buyout prices because they are trying to protect their cash flow. This creates a liquidity freeze. If dealers can't sell, they stop buying. And when they stop buying, your watch is no longer liquid cash. We are looking at a high probability of bankruptcies among mid-sized grey market dealers in 2026. When these dealers go bust, they will be forced to liquidate their stock at fire sale prices. This will flood the market with even more cheap watches, crashing prices further. This is the double supply shock. You have new inventory pouring out of Rolex's temporary factories, colliding with liquidated inventory from panicked flippers and bankrupt dealers. It is a recipe for a market crash. And don't think the certified pre-owned program will save them. That was a strategic misstep. Rolex forced authorized dealers to buy back used watches and sell them at a massive premium, usually 25 to 30% higher than the market rate. In a falling market, that inventory is a liability. Authorized dealers are now stuck trying to sell used watches for thousands of dollars more than you can find them elsewhere. It makes the authorized dealers look like museums where nothing actually sells. Independent dealers are backing out of the program because it's too expensive, leaving only the big corporate chains to hold the bag. The geopolitical squeeze. If the supply and pricing issues weren't enough, the world is closing its doors to Swiss luxury. China used to be the engine of growth. Now it's a drag on the market. The Common Prosperity Initiative and anti-corruption campaigns have made wearing a Rolex a liability in China. It's no longer a status symbol, it's a target on your back. On top of that, China is implementing a new value-added tax law in January 2026. Combined with existing luxury taxes, buying a watch in China is becoming prohibitively expensive. This is going to wall off the Chinese market, forcing Rolex to send those watches to the US and Europe, further flooding our markets. But the US has its own problems. We are in an era of trade protectionism. Tariffs on Swiss goods are a margin destroyer. Even a 15% tariff on a $10,000 Submariner is $1,500. Who pays that? If the consumer pays, demand drops. If the dealer pays, they go bankrupt. If Rolex pays, their profits get slashed. Losing the crown. Finally, we have to talk about the product itself. The ugly truth is that Rolex is losing its cool factor. The quiet luxury trend is real and it is maturing. Wealthy buyers are moving away from the big, shiny status symbols. They want discretion. That is why Cartier has overtaken Omega to become the #2 brand in Swiss watch sales. People want design and heritage, not just a flex. Rolex is also being attacked from below by its own sibling. Tudor has moved into the price bracket that Rolex vacated. For $3,000 to $5,000, you can get a Tudor Black Bay that offers incredible quality. In a recessionary 2026 economy, smart buyers will choose the Tudor and save $5,000. And at the high end, real collectors are moving to independence. Brands like FP Journet and MB and F offer actual rarity, making hundreds of watches, not millions. As Rolex becomes available to everyone again, the true elite are moving on to brands that still offer exclusivity. Perhaps the scariest statistic for the secondary market comes from the world of fakes. The super fakes are getting terrifyingly good. The online authentication platform Bezel reported rejecting 27% of watches submitted for sale in 2025. Of those rejections, a staggering 57% were Rolex. Think about that. Nearly 6 out of 10 rejected watches are fake Rolexes. As the economy gets desperate in 2026, more people will try to pass off high-quality fakes. The risk of buying a second-hand Rolex is becoming too high for most people to stomach. The great recalibration. So where does this leave us? Rolex isn't going to go bankrupt. They have more money than God. But 2026 will be the end of the super cycle. It is the year the laws of economics finally catch up to the crown. We are looking at maximum supply meeting, minimum demand. For the flipper, the game is over. Your margins are negative. For the grey dealer, it's a year of bankruptcy. For the authorized dealers, they actually have to do their job and sell watches instead of just allocating them to their favorite clients. This Rolex recession is necessary. It will purge the tourists and the speculators from the market. But for anyone holding on to a modern Rolex hoping it's a retirement fund, it's going to be a painful reality check. I want to know where you stand on this crash. If you had $10,000 to spend in 2026, do you catch the falling knife and buy a Rolex at retail, or do you take that money to a brand like Cartier or Omega? Let me know in the comments below.